Mayor, I'd like to just do a quick recap of the trip up there. Down there is Raleigh, up there is D.C. Mayor Wright and Assistant City Manager Surratt and myself spent last Thursday in Washington, D.C. We had to go up Wednesday night because we had a day full of meetings. Started bright and early, and we had the opportunity to meet with Marlowe and Company, who is lobbyist for the city, and we had sort of planned the day from there. They had, and Mrs. Surratt would set up 5 different meetings with all of the representatives at the federal level from the Hickory area. So that meant we met directly with Representative Fox, Representative McHenry, and Representative Mark Meadows, who is new for us. Apparently he has just a little bit of Burke County. We then had the opportunity to meet with the senior staff of Senator Burr and Senator Hayden. One of the things that I think that one of the objectives of going up there was to, and I think the mayor put it really well during one of our first meetings, is we really want our federal legislators and our state legislators to be thinking about Hickory, to have Hickory on their minds. Now, when we sat down and talked to them, we showed them the charts that Mr. Berry showed, particularly the one with the job loss that shows that red bar graph way in the negative, and without exception, that raised eyebrows with all the folks that we met with. The couple takeaways, I think, first of all, is we've got a good open dialogue with these offices now. And not that we didn't have, we were communicating, but I think some things are best handled sort of face to face. And this is, when you're meeting with your federal and state representatives, I think that is that's the case. So that's going, and we talked about follow up within 6 months to 12 months. It was suggested to us that the EDA, or the Economic Development Administration, might provide some assistance to Hickory. Now, they don't normally, the city staff couldn't call them and ask the EDA to pay a visit to the community, but they will do so if a congressman asks them to visit the district and to visit. And all of our representatives said they would work to make that happen. So we're expecting sometime in the next several months to have a visit from either the field office of the Economic Development Administration, or perhaps even the DC folks, or the DC office. What we've heard from them is that that there are opportunities. There are some things that are available to communities like ours. They generally are in the realm of projects that are, to use a coined term, shovel ready. In other words, they're just sitting there waiting to go, waiting for money. And so we think we've got some of those in the works that we can be discussing with the EDA when they're here. The other thing we talked about, we spoke to them about inspiring spaces. We got very positive reception from our local representatives about what we're doing as a community. What we told them was that we have been the kind of community that has tended to kind of look after itself. We have not struck out and had our hand out all the time asking for help. But and this was not in the case of the Inspiring Spaces Initiative or our Economic Competitive Initiative, that's not what we're doing either. We're not up there in Washington D.C. saying, you know, come bail us out. You know, what we were asking them to be one piece of a partnership, and I think the mayor alluded to it, that would involve the city and investment from the city and its taxpayers, private individuals, and then federal and state governments, to make the Inspiring Spaces plan and economic competitiveness plan a reality. That we gave them the literature on Inspiring Spaces. We didn't really discuss any specific projects. All of them wanted to understand about the Gallup poll that placed us so low in the rankings as to resident satisfaction, and that information has been furnished to them. So I think it was a tremendously successful trip. I think we will see quite directly and concretely some federal officials in the area with the charge from some reason. You know, our representatives up there have some influence, I believe. So I think that there will be some. It won't be just. They just won't be. The EDA won't be in here just shaking hands and making an appearance. What I'm expecting them to do is get in here and see what they can do to help. So I don't know, maybe do you have any other observations?
Well, these are anecdotal things, but Congressman McHenry, I thought it was very interesting. You know, we really put stuff in front of them that they hadn't put in front of them at one time before. And we just put a couple things in front. We said, this is where we are, and we did nothing to get here. Okay? And so what we talked about is that slide. I think you taken it down. That the $18 million. Remember the $18 million? You know, our vision is $18 million of our money. We're going to have to put something in there. $18 million of private investors, $18 million of federal and state, and suddenly you've got $54 million, and that's real money. So, but Patrick McHenry said, and I think this, he said, my goodness, he said, you know, all we hear up here is Flint, Michigan. He said, their numbers aren't as bad as yours. Okay? So I said, okay, it's in your district. We're ready to work on this. What are you going to do to help? Huh? And we said it that bluntly. I said to Mrs. Fox's representative, I said, this is in Mrs. Fox's district, 185th out of 189. Mr. Lail said, far lower than anybody else in North Carolina. And I said, shame on you, Mrs. Fox. And then I said, just kidding. But the point is, we are in it together, right? And we are, it's not like we're going up there and saying, we aren't going to do anything because our people have suffered enough. We said, we're doing this, but we need to parlay this with here and here and here. And we do the same thing in Raleigh. This is the metropolitan area. Think about how many people in Raleigh represent our metropolitan area. And we need to have them, Mr. Lail pointed out, we want thinking about us every 3 or 4 days. When they hear something that, hey, there's a good idea here that might help somebody, their first thought is, how can that help Hickory? Because Hickory needs it and deserves it more than anybody else in the state. So that's all I wanted to add. But it was a good meeting, very productive. Our lobbyists went with us, but we made it clear this was not a lobbying trip. You know, we arranged this trip. Mrs. Surratt made the schedules and all, and we happen to have those lobbyists with us because we're paying them to do it anyway. They help with grants. Yes, they help with grants, and they have helped. They have helped us in the past. They will in the future, and they're good folks. But the point I was making is, we're not going up there saying our lobbyists said it'd be a good time for you all to come up here and show your faces. We went up there and explained, here's what we've done. Here's what we're lining up. We're lining up Inspiring Spaces. We're lining up shovel-ready sites. We're lining up demolition and renovation. And we need all the funding help we can get to make it happen. And I believe it's gonna work. Now, it's only gonna work when we follow up, as we already have, by sending them more information. We've got letters here that we're gonna send to them, thanking them for their time, and I'm gonna call them individually in about 2 weeks and say, have you thought about Hickory since we were there? And I want them thinking about Hickory when they hear there's $8 million out there for somebody. That's all I have. Anything else?
Well, I just wanted to mention, on the Hickory Daily Record website, there's a survey going on now for local folks to weigh in on what they think about Hickory, good place to live, trying to get out of town fast as you can, or whether it's by choice.